There is a line from an old Eastern classic that reads, 蛇是千，点燃一千，也是神，集结一身。孤君子与其大连，破若破lump, which means, consider, certain on, one who has only lightly touched the world is only lightly stained by it. One who has deeply dwelled in the world is skilled in its cunning. Therefore, it is better for a noble person to remain simple than to become too clever. Let that settle in. First, the philosophy of political innocence. The deeper one gets involved in politics, the more likely they are to become experts in tactics, manipulation, and self-preservation. The novice, by contrast, though perhaps unpolished, often holds on to genuine ideals and untainted convictions. In politics, this philosophical truth has been proven time and again. Those who are too experienced may become entangled in power plays, calculations, and compromises. But sometimes the inexperienced, those untouched by the political machine, can bring about the most honest and radical change. Second, the case of Park Chung-hee, South Korea. Take the case of Park Chung-hee, the former president of South Korea. Originally a military general, not a career, politician Park stepped into leadership at a time when the country's political structures were weak and vested interests were not yet deeply rooted. He did not rise through party politics or factional loyalty. Because of this, he was free from the corruption, backroom deals, and inertia that plagued older political institutions. This allowed him to focus solely on national development and implement radical economic reforms with speed and clarity. From an environmental perspective, South Korea in the 1960s had not yet developed strong democratic institutions or entrenched lobbying networks. This political blank slate provided an unusually clean stage on which a strong leader could act decisively. In line with the classic phrase, "以佛事为人，我是人turni, 与其大连，不若破路," it is better to be simple than overly clever. Park's leadership was blunt, directive, and results-driven. And paradoxically, the simplicity earned him deep trust among the public. Third, the Velvet Revolution and Václav Havel, Czech Republic. Another example is Václav Havel of the Czech Republic, a playwright, not a politician. Havel was the moral voice of the Velvet Revolution. He had no background in government, but his ethical clarity made him a symbol of clean politics. After the fall of the communist regime in 1989, Havel was elected president because he stood completely outside the corrupt political order. His success was possible because the Czech people were tired of repression and dishonesty. They longed for someone untainted, someone real. The environment was ripe for such a figure: the collapse of the old regime, civic disillusionment, and the hunger for moral renewal. Havel's outsider status was not a weakness. It was the key to his legitimacy. Fourth, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, Ukraine. Now consider Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Before becoming president in 2019, he was a comedian and actor, never a politician. In a country plagued by corruption and elite fatigue, Zelenskyy rose as a symbol of breakaway hope. When Russia invaded, his leadership shocked the world, not because of political experience, but because of moral courage. Zelenskyy used social media, global communication, and direct speech to connect with his people. In a digital age, authenticity matters more than rhetoric. His rise proves that in moments of crisis, the outsider's clean slate becomes a nation's salvation. Fifth, Donald Trump, United States. Finally, let us reflect on Donald Trump. A businessman and television personality, Trump had no formal political background. When he ran for president in 2016, he ran on the promise to drain the swamp, vowing to cleanse Washington of its entrenched interests. His outsider image, untouched by lobbyists or partisan deals, resonated deeply with many Americans. Here again, the phrase applies: 蛇是千，点燃一千, who has not been immersed in the world is not deeply stained by it. Trump refused to speak like a politician. He used blunt, even abrasive language. For many, this felt more honest than the rehearsed lines of career politicians. His rise was not only due to personal charisma, it reflected three key environmental factors. One, public frustration with political elites. Many felt that both parties no longer represented ordinary people. 2. Cultural and economic anxiety, the decline of American manufacturing, rising immigration, and culture wars created deep unrest. 3. Media disruption. Trump bypassed traditional media using social platforms directly, addressing his base without filters. Though his leadership style differs sharply from Zelenskyy, the pattern is clear. An outsider emerging from a broken political landscape captured the hopes of millions. Conclusion: when outsiders lead. Across South Korea, the Czech Republic, Ukraine, and the United States, one thing is evident. In times of distrust and political decay, it is often the outsider, the one uncorrupted by the system, who offers the clearest hope for renewal. It is not about being perfect. It is about being uncorrupted. It is about being simple, not slick polu, budalian. These figures, Park, Havel, Zelenskyy, and Trump, remind us that sometimes political inexperience is not a flaw. It is a moral asset. And when the moment is right, such individuals can do what no seasoned politician dares to do: change everything. By subscribing and following the channel below, you can access deeper reflections rooted in the profound wisdom of Eastern philosophy.